As we welcome you to John Kropp Stadium alongside Fordham's own Maria Travel Piece. I'm Noah Frary, and for Texas, they've played in the final game of the year in each of the last 2 seasons. Maria, they've been impressive this weekend. What makes you think they can do it again?
Well, they're firing in all 3 facets of the game, Noah. Pitching, offense, and defense. That's what you need headed into the postseason. They look great right now in every single category.
Yeah, and particularly the pitching. They've been outstanding this weekend. They've been nearly unhittable, Maria.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about Tegan Cavan, but it's been the staff for the Longhorns that has been so good this weekend. Hannah Wells, Citlali Gutierrez, all bringing different elements to their game, just keeping these Kentucky hitters off balance. And the Longhorns hitters have not been off balance, though, especially Katie Stewart. Grand slam, double, 7 RBIs, and in the biggest of moments. She has been so key for this Texas team all season long.
And she'll be chasing history today as she eyes the Texas single-season home run record. A look at the Texas Longhorns starting lineup. A spotlight on J.C. Nichols coming in, a 7-game SEC hitting streak, has 5 hits in this series. She'll be going up against Mackenzie Oslanzi in the circle for Kentucky. She's been much better as a starter this year, gets the start in Game 3.
Well, she has a lot in her repertoire. It's curve, drop, and will mix in the rise as well. She also is going to throw it in the upper 60s. We didn't see her yesterday. We did see her in Game 1. I'm excited to see what she brings against the Longhorns here today.
Oslanzi, one of the unique pitchers, has that rise ball, but it's been a bit ineffective this year after off-season surgery. Has found the control of that pitch more lately. Texas has won the first 2 games of the series. Eyeing the sweep here as they try to continue to build momentum with a big matchup against Arkansas looming next weekend. Oslanzi's ready, so is Henry. Let's do it from JCS. And the first pitch from Oslanzi on the corner to Caden Henry, who's having a big last 4 games, comes in a 4-game hitting streak, hitting .500 during that 4-game stretch. And the hits keep coming. Henry, her 6th hit of the series, and she'll be on first base to start this game.
Well, Caden Henry can do a little bit of everything. She'll drop a bunt down, she'll use that chop slap. There she just hits a nice solid base hit up the middle, and so it's so difficult to pitch around her and find ways to get her out because everything has been working for her.
Texas has had a lot of base runners this weekend off of Kentucky pitchers. First look at Katie Stewart. Hit a towering grand slam in the 7th inning off of Sarah Hendigas, who pitched really well yesterday for Kentucky, but one of the best hitters in college softball got her late.
Sarah Hendigas so successful through 6 innings, and Texas threatened multiple times throughout the game, and she just kept shutting them down. But the more you see a pitcher, the more you get on time, and Katie Stewart teeing off on that grand slam.
Grounded the other way, off the glove of Hamilton, and that will allow Katie Stewart to reach.
Texas already has such a potent offense. You cannot give them extra outs. Great pitch from Oslanzi to get Katie Stewart to ground out, but Hamilton unable to make that play.
Hamilton has been so good at first base this year, but has struggled lately at that position. Has seemed a little bit in between at times. And Texas has 2 runners on the bunt. Donaldson able to get it over to first. That was a little interesting. A successful sacrifice for Viviana Martinez, and Texas has 2 runners in scoring position in the first.
Well, Texas generates runs in a variety of different ways. We've highlighted the grand slam from Katie Stewart, but to load the bases, it was 3 singles from the Texas Longhorns. Here, utilizing the small ball with a sacrifice bunt from your 3-hitter, it just shows how versatile they are offensively.
And now Reese Atwood steps in, a first pitch strike from Mackenzie Oslanzi. Atwood, one of the premier catchers in college softball, will be playing professionally in the AUSL this summer. 1 fouled off behind in the count quickly. And if you're Oslanzi, what's a key today against this Texas lineup?
You need to hit your locations and start ahead in the count. She's done that with these first few hitters. Now you're ahead here. Make a competitive pitch that isn't in the strike zone against one of the best hitters in college softball.
Off the plate, Atwood lays off. Numbers down slightly this year for Reese Atwood, but when you had otherworldly numbers like she had last year, you expect maybe a small dip. It's not been substantial, to say the least. Ball and 2 strikes again. In that left-handed batter's box, Emmert fakes the throw down to third.
It's funny, Reese Atwood hitting almost 400, and we're saying that her numbers are slacking. It just goes to show how good of a hitter she is.
Hit 393, 89 RBIs a year ago. 2-2 to Atwood. He's again spoiled. And this has been the difference for Oslonzi this year in the circle. Has not had that strikeout pitch like you were used to seeing her have in the past. She was a standout in Eastern Illinois a year ago. Atwood just continues to foul pitches off.
And to your point, she may not be striking hitters out. So then the question becomes, how do you adjust and still make competitive pitches and utilize your defense behind you? She did that against Katie Stewart to get her to ground out, and she's getting Reese Atwood to foul off some of those curveballs right now.
Gets a ground ball here. Donaldson has it across the diamond. The run will score. The snap throw to third is not in time. Atwood retired, give her the RBI. Stewart advances to third, and Texas is on the board.
Mackenzie Oslonzi coming inside with this pitch. Emery Donaldson only play at first base to get the second out. That's smart, though, because you're trying to pick up as many outs as you can in this situation. Her only play was to toss it across the diamond.
Atwood now with an RBI in back-to-back games, and that turns attention to Leanne Good, who has struggled in this series. Kentucky pitchers have kept her in check. She's 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Was lifted for a pinch hitter back in game number 1. She'd love to break out today.
It's interesting because we've seen, in particular, Sarah Hendiges utilize that inside screwball and rise ball to Leanne Good, and she struggled with it. There, Oslonzi going with the curveball on the outside, though.
1-1 low to Leanne Good. Much like her teammate Reese Atwood, Good will be playing in the AUSL this summer. One of 17 golden ticket recipients. Saw the last yesterday, Mississippi State's Peja Gould. 2-1, hit into center. Riddell has a beat on it for the final out of the inning, and Mackenzie Oslonzi limits the damage. But Texas gets on the board. Kentucky will bat when we come back. Sunday in Lexington, Tegan Cavan will get the start for the Longhorns. 18 wins on the year, has the win in both of the first 2 games of the series, Maria.
She's been so dominant, came in yesterday in relief. The thing is with Tegan Cavan, she knows when her number is called upon how to deliver, whether it's in that starting role, whether it's in the relief role. She has been a huge key to Texas's success, not only this year, but her entire career.
She will face the Kentucky Wildcats lineup with Carly Sleeman leading off, led off yesterday's game with a home run. Kentucky had just 1 hit the rest of the way through 22 batters. And Cavan starts Sleeman with a first pitch ball. Cavan the win in each of the first 2 games of the series. The start on Friday night, in relief yesterday. And gets the call on the inside corner. Maria, what makes her so troubling for hitters?
Well, she can throw the ball 70 miles an hour, as you just saw, but the most difficult part about hitting Tegan Cavan is the rise versus the drop. There's so much separation, it's hard to get on plane with either of them.
And Sleeman swings through the drop there. Touched on that during the 6th and 7th innings yesterday when Cavan pitched. Just her ability to change levels and how challenging that makes it on the batter.
And change speeds. That pitch was 62 miles an hour.
1-2 low to Carly Sleeman. 281 hitter in SEC play, but she's hit 12 home runs over her last 29 games. Times this year, Kentucky's been searching for consistency offensively. She's been a bright spot all year. 2-2, and Cavan has her first K of the afternoon.
She went back to that drop ball on 3 straight pitches to Carly Sleeman. Here it is, just falling off the table, taking some speed off it as well. Sleeman can't even foul it off.
Strikeout numbers up for Kavan this year. Starts today's game off with her first K. That'll bring up Allie Blum. Joe's bunt pulls back, and for Blum, a big April has been Kentucky's best hitter during this month. 0 for 6 this weekend. Maria, the challenge for Kentucky at times this year is you have players that get going, maybe others that go into slumps. They've just not been able to piece together an offense holistically this season.
Yeah, you're trying to get everybody clicking at the right time, and it just hasn't aligned yet.
Blum attacks this pitch, deep center field, and into the camera well. And for the second day in a row, Kentucky has a first inning home run. We're tied at 1 on Allie Blum's 6th of the season.
It is so difficult to make contact against Tegan Kavan, but when you do, she'll supply some of that power. Allie Blum getting all of this pitch that's left right down the middle, smashes it over the center field fence.
And now Peyton Plotz steps in. Kentucky's gotten off to good starts in each of the last 2 days. They had this Texas team on upset watch for much of the day yesterday. It was 1-1 going into the 6th inning. Peyton Plotz had a home run back in game number 1. And the challenge, Maria, in this series for Kentucky has been how good the Texas pitching staff has been. They were dominant yesterday.
Only 60 total pitches thrown, Noah. That is insane. So the Wildcats need to see more here today.
Plotz goes the other way. It'll get down. Makes a big turn. Maloney comes up throwing. And Peyton Plotz is safe at second with a 1-out double. Back-to-back extra base hits for Kentucky here in the first after they had just 2 in the entirety of yesterday's game.
Hitting can be contagious. Peyton Plotz gets a little jammed on this pitch, but she sees it's going to fall and takes off right out of the batter's box. This is great awareness from Plotz, knowing that she can take second and get herself into scoring position for her team.
Maddie Clark shows bunt on the strike from Kavan. And now the challenge for Kentucky. They didn't have a runner in scoring position in game number 1. They were 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position yesterday. You need to find a way to get Plotz in.
And that's why I like the idea from Maddie Clark there to maybe bunt, move her over to third. But what Texas did well yesterday offensively was just pass the bat. Single, 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 then you have the big hit. Kentucky now doing it in a little bit different way. A home run, now a double. Continue to pass the bat, and it can be with a bunt, or it could be with some of those singles in the holes. But I think the biggest key for me, Noah, for the Wildcats offense today is seeing more pitches. We saw that graphic, only 60 thrown by the Texas staff yesterday. Now you see them taking more, swinging, being more selective, and it has them a run and a runner in scoring position in this first inning.
1-2 popped straight up back our way. You and I were joking with Texas pitching coach Patty Ruth Taylor before this game. We didn't have the time to go back and look, but the 60 pitches in 7 innings yesterday has to be one of the most efficient games in the SEC this year.
Especially with the offense in the SEC, the fact that Texas was able to limit that number was incredible. Now they're trying to do that again today, but Kentucky adjusting in the batter's box.
1-2. Clark stays alive. She has 8 hits in her last 7 games, but an 0-for to begin this series. A must-win game here for Kentucky, trying to throw up wins at the end of the regular season. An under 500 record right now. 2-2 to Clark. For that record to hold, they would not be eligible for the NCAA postseason. They will have at least one game at the SEC tournament. It'll be played here at John Kropp Stadium, May 5th through the 9th. 2-2, Clark, just foul at third.
How exciting is it that the SEC tournament gets to come to Lexington, play in this beautiful stadium? It is one of the most exciting postseason tournaments to watch. Obviously, you have Mayhem and Regional Supers, Women's College World Series, but the SEC tournament every year, Noah, brings so much excitement to the sport of softball.
8th pitch of the at-bat. There will be a 9th as the count moves full. Best conference in college softball. 7 out of the top 10 teams in this week's poll inside the top 10 from the SEC. Payoff, and Kavan has K number 2. A big early pitch for the Texas ace.
Tegan Kavan locking in this at-bat against Maddie Clark. This one, the rise ball with a little bit of late break to get number 7 for the Wildcats.
Fouled off the mitt of Atwood behind the plate. That was the 21st pitch that Kentucky has seen in this first inning. It represents a third of their total from yesterday.
Even that last at-bat from Maddie Clark, I know it ended in a strikeout, but that's a quality at-bat. She saw a lot of pitches, fouled a few off. You're getting your timing down against Kavan.
Hamilton through the right side. Kentucky getting aggressive. Here comes Plotz. And a perfect throw from Maloney. Guns down Plotz at the plate. But Kentucky gets on the board with Allie Blum, 6th of the year.
Allie Blum getting her team on the board. A moonshot to center field here in Lexington.
For the second day in a row, it's 1-1 after the first. It was nearly 2-1 Kentucky. And Maria, I gotta say, I love the aggressiveness from Christine Himes on this play, even though Plotz was ultimately out at the plate.
Well, it's a great throw from Ashton Maloney, right? Plotz is out, but you've been struggling to score all weekend long. You have a runner in scoring position. It's a big clutch opportunity. Try to make Texas make a play. Now, the Longhorns did. Great throw, but I love that. Take some chances here in this game.
First pitch swinging for Hannah Wells. Shallow center field. And the catch made by Riddell. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the second. So with Wells retired, that'll bring up Kaya Altmaier. Extra base hit in back-to-back games in this series. That comes on the heels of 10 straight games without an extra base hit. Where I think one thing, and we talk about the holistic approach of this Texas offense that stood out to you and me this weekend, has been how good the bottom of Mike White's order has been.
Turning it around for the top. I mean, Altmaier, and then you get into that Nichols, Maloney, back-to-back. Left-handed hitters with speed to turn it around for Caden Henry. That's been so lethal, and the speed puts so much pressure on the defense.
One off the plate, 2-1. There's a look at Mike White in the third base coach's box. Odd situation yesterday. He was actually issued an administrative ejection. That was his second ejection of the year. And normally in that situation, he would have had to have sat out today's game. There was a ruling from the SEC that allowed him to coach this game. And if you're Texas, you love having your head man back out there.
Especially with the spark that he brings to this team. He's one of the greatest coaches in the game. He's had so much success at Texas. You saw his resume. He had success at Oregon. He had success as a player himself, so he brings so much knowledge. to this team, and you definitely don't want to play a game without him.
353 wins now in his 8 seasons on the 40 acres. 2-2 from Oslanzi, and sends Altmaier down.
I love some pitches with late break, and that's what Mackenzie Oslanzi does. Rise ball in on the hands to Kyle Altmaier. She has no chance of making contact with that pitch.
Oslanzi starting to settle into this game. A little shaky early. Had the single and then the error. Henry ultimately coming around to score, but Oslanzi's now retired 5 in a row, and you saw yesterday the same with Hendiges. A little shaky of a start, but then settled in nicely and ultimately got into the 7th.
Can you respond when mistakes are made or you make a mistake? That's how you get good at this game. Mackenzie Oslanzi doing exactly that. Gave up a run early, but now just goes right back to starting ahead on hitters, making her pitches, moving the ball.
Better as a starter this year. Oslanzi's been used in relief. Kentucky's pitching staff has been shorthanded at times this year. And Oslanzi, back-to-back Ks and a clean 1-2-3 inning in the 2nd. We're tied, headed to the bottom of the 2nd at John Kropp Stadium. He's going to be the 15 seed in the SEC tournament on May 5th.
You have a big series next week, Texas versus Arkansas, so close in those SEC standings. The thing with this league, Noah, is that everybody is so talented, and you look at some of the conference records, and then you look at what these teams what these teams have done out of conference, and it just shows how competitive it is within the SEC.
Coming into today, Softball America had as many as 9 SEC teams set to host regionals. 7 of the 8 super regional sites could be SEC stadiums this year. No denying the best conference in college softball. And he's behind in the count here, 0-2 to Kavan. Tony, the transfer from Troy, a former Miss Kentucky softball. Tall task here against one of the top junior pitchers in the country.
I just love how Kentucky is having these longer at-bats, and I'm going to talk a lot about it because it's what they didn't do well yesterday. And especially against a pitcher like Tegan Kavan, who has so many different speeds and locations, if you can see more, you can get on time with more.
And you wondered how Kentucky's bats would look against Kavan. Seeing her for the 3rd time this weekend, albeit she's only throwing 5 2/3 and 57 pitches through the first 2 games of the series.
She's been so efficient.
Off the plate, a good eye there from Oni. Gets the start in left field today. Seventh pitch of the at-bat. And Kavan wins another lengthy battle, 3 Ks through 1 1/3.
Tegan Kavan's rise ball is so difficult to lay off of. Reagan Oni works the count deep, but look at the movement on this pitch, Noah. Up and away. It looks great when it's right in front of your eyes, and a moment later, your bat's just underneath it.
Alexa Riddell with a weak hack, and Marie, all I've got to say is when Kavan's out in the circle, I'm glad to be sitting up here in the press box instead of in the batter's box.
I think a lot of people would have that same sentiment. I know I would as well. I have fallen victim to way too many rise balls in my career, especially one with the RPM that Tegan Kavan has.
See, I played baseball, and for me, it was the curveball.
That's what makes softball so unique, right? In baseball, you don't really have a pitch that can move up, right? They're moving left, right, down, and it's such a tough element as a hitter to adjust to because it looks so good, and then you swing at it.
Grounded right back to Kavan. It ate her up. But plenty of time to get Riddell At first, some solid contact from the Kentucky freshman, but Kavan fields her position nicely.
Alexa Rydell makes a great piece of hitting right there, but Kavan able to eat it up. We talked about quality at bats, and you have to feel good about that if you are Alexa Rydell, making good contact, seeing a lot of pitches. That way the next time through the lineup, you're able to get on time even more so.
Here's the Lexington native, Ella Emmert, playing in what could be one of the final games of her collegiate career at John Kropp Stadium. Grew up just down the street, went to nearby Lexington Catholic. One of the best stories on this team. That pitch was high, 2-0 to Emmert.
I know Coach Lawson told us how she's what makes college softball so great. Ella Emmert, unsure if she was even going to play when she got to Kentucky, but she worked so hard and was so diligent about how she could improve, how she could help the team, and eventually earning that starting role behind the dish for the Wildcats. And those are the stories, Noah, that I just love to hear, because especially in this era of college softball and the transfer portal and NIL, you get so excited when people stay and work so hard at their craft.
Maria, I know you spend a lot of time around the American. It's kind of like the football player that was just drafted from Army that...
Oh, Eli Heidenreich, I love it.
Those are the stories that we all love to see. And that's what college athletics has and hopefully will always be about. Most of these players, much like Emmert, who's going to go to medical school at Johns Hopkins this next year, they're not going to play their sport professionally. Kavan searching for her fourth K, misses inside and the count full.
But that's the incredible thing about softball and sports in general is even if you don't go on to play professionally, it prepares you for life. And it sounds so cliche, but learning how to work hard, work through adversity, it translates into whatever field you go into post-career.
Payoff is fouled off. And just in the short time of knowing you, Maria, how vibrantly you talk about your time at Fordham and your teammates and just those experiences speaks to that.
Absolutely. You still miss it every day, though.
I bet.
So it's great to be able to be back in the game in some type of capacity.
Emmert keeps fighting.
Kavan's thrown her a little bit of everything in this at-bat. She has the rise ball, she went to the drop, threw a few different off speeds, but Ella Emmert just fighting, fouling it off, trying to get to her pitch.
Every time the at-bat's gone north of 7 pitches, Kavan's won the battle. She does it again here. Fourth K of the afternoon for Tegan Kavan. We'll talk to her head coach Mike White when we come back. Texas head coach Mike White. Coach, your team building towards the postseason. Where do you like about where your team's at right now?
Well, I think we're hitting from 1 to 9, which is good, and that's what you need. But we're having a little trouble cashing in on some of the runners on base, and this we've just got to continue to work on it. I think the pitching staff is doing a good job as well.
You mentioned the pitching staff, Coach. Tegan gives up the home run, but has settled in nicely. What do you like from her?
Resilience, just got to put that behind you and just continue to work. I know it's the second, third day that actually she's thrown against them, and they're maybe making some adjustments. You just got to counter that with using some off speeds and working the pitch around the zone a little bit more.
Coach, thanks for the time. Hope you brought the sunscreen today.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I put it on. So, hey, welcome.
Love it.
A beautiful day here in Lexington for this final game of the series. Texas has won the first 2, eyeing a sweep. Today it would be their 3rd in SEC play if they're able to complete it. But right now, Kentucky, much like yesterday through 7 innings, giving the Longhorns all they can handle.
They've been resilient in the circle and in their at-bats as well. They're just fighting against one of the best teams in the country.
Mackenzie Oslonzi back out there. A 1-2-3 second, 2 strikeouts. Ashton Maloney at the plate has already made a big impact on this game, gunning down Peyton Plotz on a throw to the plate back in the first inning. And Oslonzi getting pinched a little bit right now on that outside corner, just not getting the call. from Joe Havenhill, our home plate umpire today. Perry Owens is at first, and Jose Shapiro, yesterday's home plate umpire, is at third. 3-0 now to Maloney.
That's where those first two pitches play a big part, right there on the corner, just missing his balls. Then you have the big miss inside, and all of a sudden you're down 3-0.
Maloney taking all the way. This time Oslanzi gets the call on that outside corner.
I would keep throwing it there. We've seen her have success on that pitch, keeping it away, especially from the left-handed hitters. It has some tight movement on it.
Another strike for Oslanzi. Much like you said, Maria, keeping it on the outside of the plate. And for Texas, it's been quite the series so far. 19 runs, 30 hits. They've had a ton of traffic on the base paths all weekend. Here's the 3-2. Grounded to the right side. Clark can't glove it. It'll be a base hit for Ashton Maloney, her fourth hit of the weekend in Texas as a leadoff base runner.
Ashton Maloney is so great in the 9-hole for Texas. In the 5-6 hole, she chops that ball, gets the leadoff hitter on for the Longhorns, and we've talked about it all series long, Noah, but that J.C. Nichols-Maloney combo into the top of the order is so difficult to get out.
So the lineup turns over for Caden Henry. Led off this game with a single, would come around to score on Reese Atwood's ground out to third. Texas scoring in the first inning for the second day in a row. Oslanzi a bit inconsistent on that outside part of the plate.
It's tough because you don't want to move it so far in that it becomes right down the middle, because then these Texas hitters will crush that. But you also need to make sure it is a strike.
Grounded up the middle. Nice play by Clark. Blum retires the lead runner. Huckey flashing some leather there as Clark able to get the out.
Well, Maddie Clark is shifted up the middle to defend against the steal. She just has to take a couple steps to her left, dives, and makes a big play for the Wildcats. That's huge, Noah, especially with this top of the order and Katie Stewart coming to the plate.
Clark was Softball America's Defender of the Week this past week. Had a couple of fantastic plays in that series against Alabama down in Tuscaloosa. And you're right, Maria, keeping people off base. With the power threat, Katie Stewart at the plate, 7 RBIs already in the series. Next home run would be a single season record. 0-1 to Stewart. Emmert fakes the throw.
It's not only keeping people off base, it's keeping the Longhorns out of scoring position as well. And so the fact that Clark can dive and get the lead runner becomes even more critical there.
Stewart fouls that one off into the Texas bullpen. And yesterday, not only was this the game winner, it tied the Texas single season home run record. This one, an absolute no-doubter.
There is no question that that ball was out of the park, and you kind of felt it coming, Noah, right? Bases loaded, hadn't hit a home run in that game yet. Almost was like she was due.
Having her best season as a junior. When players like Good and Atwood graduate next year, she'll be the primetime piece in this lineup. Has a chance to set a number of records this year. One-two hit hard and over the glove of Donaldson. And Texas will have a pair of base runners here in the third.
Well, what makes Katie Stewart so good is, yes, she can hit a home run like we just saw on that grand slam, but she's great situationally as well. That was a 1-2 pitch, so she's not trying to hit a home run on that. She's trying to make good, solid contact. So Katie Stewart will take the single in that situation to move her teammate to second base in scoring position.
And I think that's what's made her season so impressive. Coming into today, she was the top hitter in the SEC in terms of batting average. So you think about someone like Kendall Wells at Oklahoma and all the love for the home run hitting, but Stewart's incredibly complete at the plate. The throw to third sails into left field. Texas puts pressure on Kentucky, and it pays off with a run. The Longhorns take the lead on the error by Ella Emmert.
Kaden Henry reads Maddie Clark at short. She sees that she can beat her to third, so that's why she takes that bag. The speed of Texas kills, not only when they're slapping in the batter's box, but on the base paths as well. I love the aggressiveness there from the Longhorns.
Couple of stolen bases on that play. Henry scores on the E2 from Emmert. Just her 5th error of the year behind the dish for Kentucky. Really do like the aggressiveness that we've seen from both of these teams here in game number 3.
Well, I want to see offenses put pressure on the defense. Prove to me that you can make the play, right? Kentucky did that earlier in the game. Now, they were thrown at home, but it could have gone either way. Here now, Texas doing the same thing to Kentucky in a different way.
If you're Slanzi, a little bit of deja vu. She has been snake bitten at times this year by the Kentucky defense. A number of unearned runs. Kentucky coming in with the lowest fielding percentage in the SEC this season. 2-2, Clark at short, gloves it, and there's 2 outs in the inning. Stewart advances to third.
And I think if you're Texas and you know the struggles that Kentucky has had defensively, you do want to create more chaos. You do want to put more pressure on them because the numbers say that they may not make the play.
Atwood attacks the first pitch. And another error in the inning. This time it allows Stewart to score Kentucky 3 errors in the first 3 innings of this game.
This hop is really difficult, and you see Emory Donaldson take a step back. What you want to do instead is charge that ball and take away the possibility of a bad hop, but because she sits on her heels, it eats her up.
So Rachel Lawson out to talk to her collective infield. You have to imagine this is as much about the defense as it is about the pitching. Oslanzi's been pretty good in the circle today, but her defense has let her down in this inning.
There haven't been a lot of hard hit balls from Texas because of the spin and the change of speeds from Oslanzi. And when you're playing an offense with so much power and so much variety like Texas, you can't give them extra outs. And that's what we've seen this defense do in this inning.
So the inning continues as Leanne Good steps in. Texas has plated 2 in the 3rd, searching for more. And if you're Oslanzi, this is a dangerous batter, one of the best second basemen in the country. You don't want to give her something down the heart of the plate.
Especially, we've seen her struggle, right? And based on her numbers, that means, hey, she might be due here soon for how good of a hitter she is.
Hits this one down the right field line. Kentucky giving chase, but out of play. I believe in due.
I believe in it. I used to say when I was a hitter, I'd rather be 0 for 3 going up in a big situation as opposed to 3 for 3, because if I'm hitting over 300, I'm bound to get a hit in this at bat. That's how I had to, talk myself through things as a player.
Outside. So your head was getting a little bit too big if you had a couple of early hits and then you came up in a big spot?
Yeah, well, I think it's more so you just have to constantly trick yourself because this game is so mental. So when I was 3 for 3, I would tell myself, man, I'm great. I'm seeing the ball so big. So you just have to go back and forth on it.
I think that's one of the interesting things that I'm not sure most fans realize is just how mental this sport is. You watch these incredible athletes, but as much work as they put in the hitting cage, there's work that's put in the mental game.
And especially at this level, because everybody's good, right? You were recruited to an SEC school for a reason. And you have the talent, you have the ability. What separates good players from great players is who is the strongest mentally, who knows how to rebound from an 0-for-3 game or when you give up a home run. And so much work needs to be put in the mental game because that's how you are good in the batter's box, in the circle.
Just off the plate for Oslanzi, and the count is full.
And also, there's so much time to think in softball. So if you don't have a good reel of affirmations and words in your toolbox, you're going to be in trouble.
Good into center field. It'll get down. It's off the wall. A big turn from Atwood. She will score. And Leanne Good has her first hit of the series. It's an RBI double, and Texas has a 3-run edge.
We thought Leanne Good could be due. She sees a lot of pitches in this at-bat. Here, Mackenzie Oslanzi leaves it a little bit over the plate, and Leanne Good capitalizes it on it, getting her hands high. Double for number 43 in the burnt orange.
A big hit for Good, nearly got out of the yard. Kind of the reverse broadcaster's jinx right there as Good gets it done, and Kentucky will go to the pen. Abby Hammond's day is done. Hammond coming in. Kentucky has gone to the bullpen, turning to the freshman Abby Hammond in place of Mackenzie Oslanzi.
Abby Hammond's going to look a little different than Mackenzie Oslanzi. One of her great pitches is that drop ball to both sides of the plate, Noah, and she also has an elite changeup. And so utilizing this against Texas hitters who got on time with Mackenzie Oslanzi, I think it bodes well for Kentucky making this change in this moment.
Texas has scored 3 here in the top of the 3rd inning. They lead this game 4-1. And a check swing there. It will stay foul for Hannah Wells. Hammond's developed a reputation as a bulldog out in the circle for Kentucky. Facing the uber-talented freshman Hannah Wells. 4 home runs, 15 RBIs in SEC play this season. Drives this one to center field. Donaldson back to the wall. It gets out of here. Donaldson, who just moved to the outfield, gave it a look. But Hannah Wells does just enough to pick up her 10th home run of the year. And Donaldson appears to be shaken up in center.
Donaldson did everything she could to try to catch that ball, but Hannah Wells puts it far enough out of the park that really didn't have a chance on it. Hopefully Emery Donaldson is okay out there. We'll see this. Here's the pitch from Abby Hammond. Pretty much down the middle, a curveball that just sits flat. Hannah Wells waiting on it, utilizing her lower half to drive it out of the park.
She was the National Gatorade Player of the Year a year ago. Now starring for the Texas Longhorns, 10 home runs in her freshman year, and the training staff. Ripapato out to check on Donaldson in center field. Appears to be okay. Had a very similar play to that in the Tennessee series that she got her glove on, but it went out of the ballpark.
She couldn't have played it much better. She tracks it to the wall. She sprints to the spot, doesn't stick her glove up until the last second. But again, Hannah Wells just with enough pop to get it out of here. But I think we need to talk more about Emery Donaldson. She's been such a Swiss Army knife for this Kentucky team all season, Noah, playing multiple positions, having big plays at those positions as well. And I think people don't realize how difficult that is.
First pitch strike now to Kaya Altmaier. And to your point with Donaldson primarily playing at third this year, we've seen her in center field more lately when Maddie Anson, Kentucky starting left fielder, went down with a torn ACL. Donaldson, though, has played other positions at times during her 3 seasons in Lexington.
And to go from corner infield to outfield, it's completely different, right? You're moving forward as an infielder. You're so close to the play. As an outfielder, you're starting a little bit higher in your stance so that you can move laterally and move back quicker. And she's making those adjustments not day to day, but game to game. She starts at third, she moves to center. It's so difficult to do, especially at this level with the way that hitters power the ball to the outfield, to the corners. Oh, and then you also have to field bunts as well.
Altmaier. I believe she went around there. Did they say she didn't?
I thought she did.
She did.
Okay.
2-2. Was pretty confident on that one. Did not see the signal.
I would have backed you up on it.
Here's the 2-2 to Altmaier, and Hammond picks up a K to get out of the inning. Texas strikes for 5 in the third. We'll talk to Rachel Lawson after the break. 5 spot for Texas in the top of the third at 6-1. And now joined on the broadcast by Kentucky head coach Rachel Lawson. Coach Mackenzie Oslanzi was pitching well. What went wrong for her and why the choice for Abby Hammond?
Well, what went wrong for her is all the mistakes that we made. She was great today. She was mixing the zone. She was mixing her speed. She was doing a really good job. And then, I went in to get mixed up to create a little bit different mix. Abby has more of a change-up presence to her, so I thought that changing the speeds. But obviously, I made the wrong choice with that batter. But I do believe in Abby.
Coach, the offense really great in that first inning, seeing a lot of pitches, making good contact. How can they continue that here the rest of the game?
We've had a lot of really good quality at-bats. We had more hits on the board than we did at this point in time the first time we faced her, so we just got to continue to chip away and get back in this thing.
Coach, thank you.
All right, thanks. Go Cats.
6-1 Texas as we get set to work in the bottom of the third inning. Has to be tough right now for Kentucky. You felt like they played a really good game yesterday. They had Texas on an upset watch, and then it was one big inning. Similar story so far today. And Maria, really a story that we've seen at times this year. It tends to just be one inning for Kentucky that allows other teams to get away from them.
Here's the thing, there's a lot of softball left to be played though, so how can Kentucky respond in this inning against Tegan Cavan? I think Coach makes a great point. I thought Mackenzie Oslanzi threw well. She was getting some ground balls, some weak contact, working ahead on hitters. It's just that the defense didn't back her up behind her.
So Maria, in this situation, what type of tells are you looking for to see how a team responds after watching Texas score 5 in the last inning?
What does this first at bat look like? How does Emery Donaldson battle against Tegan Cavan?
Hits this one to center field. Henry going back on it and makes a nice play. Saw her make a fantastic play coming in yesterday. Today you see the range going back to the fence.
I was going to say, Emery Donaldson's response is great. That's a great piece of hitting, good contact, but Kaden Henry, Noah, gets such great jumps on the ball, and even when she doesn't get a great jump, she is so quick that that ball looks routine. It's not routine by any means. Kaden Henry is just that good.
You talk about some of the premier center fielders in college softball. You think of Maya Davis at Texas Tech and others, but Kaden Henry, just 3 errors in 3 seasons as the primary center fielder. I don't think she gets enough love.
Absolutely not. Because here's the thing, she has 3 errors. The thing that you don't see on the stat sheet is how many hits she takes away because of her range. That is a prime example. That ball was almost to the warning track. She hits a drop step. The ones that she gets in the gap.
Sleeman punches one to left. Kentucky continuing to hit Cavan. Well, yeah, it's kind of like the scales of justice. Yes, she had 3 errors, but she's taken away so many more hits. It far outweighs any mistakes that she's made over her career.
And there's not many mistakes, right?
No.
You say 3 the entire career. And I love great outfield play. I'm biased. I was an outfielder, and so that's why I want to highlight it even more so, because usually when you make a mistake in the outfield, it's really big. There's nobody there to back you up.
Kentucky just keeps hitting. Blum puts it in play, and everyone's going to be safe. favorable scoring decision there. Blum going to be credited with the single. Back-to-back hits now for Kentucky in the inning.
You asked me what will be the tell of how Kentucky can respond. This is it. A good piece of hitting from Emery Donaldson. It's an out, but then the next two batters behind her get on base with some good contact. And so building on those at-bats that this team had in the first, the second time through the lineup, they're adjusting to Kavan even more. And that goes to my point where I said the more pitches they can see, the better they'll be. They've seen Kavan throughout the weekend. They saw her in the first inning for a lot of different pitches, a lot of foul balls. Blum worked a great at-bat, and now it's paying off here. There's so many outs left in this game. You have 7 innings in a ball game. Yes, it's tough when you give up 5 in the top of the third, but you still have the bottom of the third, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th to score the back.
46 pitches so far through 2 1/3 for Tegan Kavan, in stark contrast to the Texas pitching performance yesterday, where we saw Sitlali and Kavan team up for just 60 pitches across 7 innings. So you're right, Kentucky's having a lot more quality of at-bats. And if you're Patty Ruth Taylor, what are you saying to Kavan right there in the circle?
Breathe. You have a 5-run lead. You're one of the best pitchers in the country for a reason, and we've seen Kavan, especially in that last half inning, really lock in 2 strikeouts, gets a ground out as well. So just rely on what you've been good at your entire career.
Kavan has given up a few too many home runs this year, 16 in total. Facing a Kentucky power bat here. Plotz swung at the first pitch. Over here, our first base camera operator today. Was glad the netting was there.
We talked about that yesterday. We have the netting there. Here in the press box, we have the panels in front of us. Well, in front of you, as we discussed.
Exactly.
You
I know where to
me,
sit in this press box.
Noah left me hanging here. There's
I've got the
nothing
Gold
to
Glove
protect
outfielder
me.
and Maria Travelbees next to me.
Didn't bring my glove today, though.
Bouncer in the dirt to Peyton Plotz. Hit a home run in game number 1 of this series off of Tegan Kavan. It was her first home run in 31 games. Has 10 this year. Last year led Kentucky with 15. Behind in the count here.
I think Tegan Kavan gives up so many home runs for 2 reasons. She throws hard, right, in low 70s. But then she also has that rise ball that is so great. But if you happen to get it on top of it, or if it's a little flat, you just make contact with it, it's probably going to go out of the park.
Fouled back to netting, similarly to someone like Carlin Pickens for Tennessee, who we saw get tagged against Alabama yesterday. You get a pitch up, and you kind of have done a majority of the work just due to the pitcher's velocity.
Yep, if you get on time, you get your hands high on a rise ball or even a flat pitch, it's going to go out of the park, and it makes it difficult because also that rise ball could be your best pitch, and you'll get swings and misses on it.
Plotz slaps that one off the facade of the third base dugout, but let's be honest, easier said than done against some of these elite rise ball pitchers.
Absolutely. When that thing is working and it's spinning, tight spin, late break, we're up here saying, yeah, if you just make contact, it'll go out. It's a lot harder to make contact than we're making it sound like.
Good eye from Plotz.
And Mike White touched on that when we spoke to him earlier in the week about locations of pitches. He said it's less about the pitchers and the pitches, it's more about can you hit your spots.
Plotz got jammed to third, the catch made by Nichols. And we had a nice conversation with Texas pitching coach Patty Ruth Taylor before this game, and she said one of the things that impressed her most yesterday was how good her pitchers did at hitting their spots.
It was hitting their spots, and it was the first pitch strikes as well. It's something that's been such a point of emphasis for this Longhorns pitching staff. And she said that Tegan Kavan came to her and said, hey, look, we had those first pitch strikes yesterday.
The first pitch strike here to Maddie Clark. 17 of the 23 batters that went to the plate yesterday for Kentucky saw a first pitch strike. I'm not good at math, but I plugged it into my calculator. It was 87%.
Look at that. Your calculator is so smart.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I don't know what people did back in the day when they didn't have a pocket calculator called an iPhone.
Oh, yeah, I did not enjoy math classes as a child. I like to talk a lot, clearly, and that's why I do the career that I do. Numbers are hard sometimes.
No 2 from Kavan, slapped the other way. Stewart gets a glove on it, and the inning will come to an end. Kentucky with a pair of hits, unable to take advantage. It's 6-1.
Both been so successful this year, Noah, and I really just think it'll be matchup based. Who do they actually get in that first game, and what pitcher matches up better against that offense?
And if you're Texas right now fighting to pick up that double bye, they came into today a game behind Texas A&M. Aggies so far have split that series with South Carolina. If you're Texas, though, you like your path forward. You've got a game today that you feel like you can win, leading 6-1, and then next week you've got Arkansas. Meanwhile, when you think about some of these other teams and who they still have left to play, Texas A&M still has Oklahoma on their schedule in their final series.
And I know we've said it so many times, but you really don't know who's going to win conference games because the teams are all so good and so evenly matched. So on any given day, any team in the SEC can beat somebody else. It doesn't matter if you're at the top half of the league or the bottom half. The pitching is so elite, and the hitters, that's what's really stood out to me this year. The offense in this conference has been unmatched. It makes it so difficult to determine who will be winners in games.
3-1 from Hammond, who came on in relief of Mackenzie Oslanzi. Gave up the home run to Wells, got a strikeout to end the third. Maria, the average runs scored for an SEC softball team this year, 6.5.
That's painful in a good way.
For the pitchers.
For the pitchers, it's painful. That's why yesterday I was so excited because we had a pitcher's duel until that 7th inning. And I think that in this era of softball, the hitters are just so good with the tools that we have to watch film, to understand what pitchers throw. And I also think it's the ability to get on plane better than they ever have in the past. It's this way that people have been teaching hitting, getting that bat pack down, getting in the zone quicker, and hitters, especially in this conference, have taken that and ran with it.
Abby Hammond done in the circle. Kentucky going to Haley Nutter. We'll introduce you to her when we get. Kentucky has gone to the bullpen for the second time. Haley Nutter, the freshman out of Texas, in to face her home state Longhorns.
I like the move from Rachel Lawson, just trying to switch things up. Going to Haley Nutter, a little bit different look here, throws faster in those upper 60s, and she'll also keep the ball down in the zone. She'll utilize the changeup as well, keep it at the knees, which is what you want against an offense like Texas who can put the ball out of the park.
Nutter missed about a month with a foot injury. Still working back from that. This will be her 6th appearance since coming back from injury. She's pitched to an ERA close to 12 since her return. But Kentucky fans would know well that when she is on, she's one of the best young pitchers in this conference through 2 no-hitters earlier this year. And Texas fans will remember a pitcher named Kat Osterman. That's her pitching coach in the offseason.
Anytime you have the name Kat Osterman in softball, you can assume there's good things to follow, and clearly Nutter being able to throw 2 no-hitters, having that guidance from one of the greatest to ever do it in a Texas uniform, to ever do it in a Team USA uniform. She coached for a little bit, now she does broadcasting.
Throw down to second, Emmert guns down Nichols. For the second day in a row, Emmert has gunned down a Texas runner. Mike White thinking about challenging, he's not going to.
That's a perfect spot for Emmert to make a beautiful throw down to second base. And how about the tag from Blum, Noah? Just catching it, laying it right on Nichols. Team effort there from Kentucky for a big first out of the inning.
Here's a fun stat. Caden Henry, who Emmert threw out yesterday, a perfect 24 for 24 on the season before Emmert gunned her down today. J.C. Nichols came in 13 for 13. Emmert also takes her down.
I love it. You have to be fired up if you're Emmert, if you're head coach Rachel Lawson, seeing your catcher being able to take down some of the fastest people in the country. And again, you talk about how does this Kentucky team respond? That's another way to do it.
Pitch upstairs on the 1-2. And for all the trouble for Kentucky, a loss today would be their 23rd straight loss in SEC play. It would tie the longest losing streak in this program's SEC history. But Rachel Lawson's consistently talked about they've been gritty. They've continued to battle. We're seeing more of that today.
And you need to. It's not even just in the wins and losses. You know, if you lose a game and then go and win the next one. No, it's about battling in games when you make a mistake, when you make an error or have a bad at-bat. You see Kentucky came up in that last half inning, put together some good appearances at the plate. Now, big throw from Ella Emmert behind the dish.
Good pitch there from Nutter, spoiled by Ashton Maloney. Picked up her 4th hit of this series in the 3rd inning. She's been a staple in this Texas lineup. Maloney appearing in her 236th career game as a Texas Longhorn today. Grounded Sleeman from her backside. Made a play similarly to that yesterday, unable to get the speedy Maloney here. It'll be a 2nd hit of the day for Ashton Maloney.
Maloney places the ball so well with that slap. Carly Sleeman, a great job to at least keep that ball in the infield, but Maloney just too quick. Beats it out, no problem.
So now the lineup turns over to Caden Henry. Been on base both times, scored both times, and hits the ball right back up the middle. 2nd hit of the afternoon, and Texas has another runner in scoring position.
It's tough because Maloney, Nichols, Caden Henry, they're all left-handed slappers. So as an infield, you're usually shaded in a bit to try to take away some of that speed, but because of that, that'll then open up some more holes in the infield. She does hit that right back up the middle, but still no chance at it when you're already shaded in.
Maria, we touched on this early, but Texas has had more traffic than Nicholasville Road during rush hour. 42 people have been on base through 16 1/3 innings in this series. That's really tough if you're a pitcher.
It's tough if you're a pitcher, and it's also tough if you're a defender. When there's runners on base, it just adds an extra element of angst that you need to overcome. And so we've seen Kentucky make some errors, but it's usually when those runners are on base. And so trying to overcome that has been difficult for the Wildcats.
2-0 swung through by Stewart, and I made an error there. Told you I wasn't great at math. Actually, 52 base runners through 16 1/3 innings in this series.
I'll forgive you for the math mistake because I make a lot of mistakes in math as well. But to your point, just so much traffic for Texas, and that creates chaos and pressure and angst.
And now if you're Haley Nutter facing one of the best hitters in the SEC, Katie Stewart tied the single season program record yesterday, 23 on the year. Next one would pass her teammate Reese Atwood, who hit 23 during the 2024 season. 3-1 off the plate, and Stewart content to pass the baton.
And it's so tough facing this Texas offense because, okay, you get past Katie Stewart. I know you walk her and you think, okay, maybe not too bad, not as much damage done, but then you have Viviana Martinez and Reese Atwood coming up behind her. There's no breath that you can take.
The first 4 have reached in the inning. Viviana Martinez having another big series this weekend. Had 4 hits in game number 1, 5 total. Missed all of last season with an injury, but she has come back and been huge. SEC Player of the Week last week after the massive series against the Dogs. Grounded to first, Hamilton misplays it. They'll get one, but Texas trades an out for a run The Longhorns lead this one 7-1.
Krista Hamilton over at first base gets eaten up by this ball a little bit. Great job by Allie Blum to make sure there's at least one out got there, but like you said, Noah, a run comes across for Texas.
Texas has scored in 3 of the first 4 innings, had the crooked number in the 3rd. Looking for another one here with Reese Atwood at the plate. 2 runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Atwood had the RBI ground out in the 1st to get Texas on the board. "1-0 is high.
I'd like to see Haley Nutter work more pitches in the strike zone. She's getting behind on some of these hitters, and because of that, then she has to lay it down the middle against a team that is great at capitalizing on pitches left over the plate.
Dangerous pitch here to Atwood. Off the plate, 3-0. We talk about how good Reese Atwood is. Kentucky fans got to see Jocelyn Erickson play here in Lexington earlier this year. Those two both drafted into the AUSL. Who's the better catcher, Maria?
Oh, you can't put me on the spot like that, Noah. These are 2 of the best catchers in the game. I really think it depends on the day.
Atwood works underneath it. Those 2 national catchers of the year in each of the last 2 seasons. Atwood last year, Erickson the year before. 7-1 Texas. Headed to the bottom of the 4th in Lexington. How about Peja Gould? You get 11 Ks and then you get a golden ticket afterwards?
I know, I didn't even hit on that one. See, I wanted to save that one for you as well, but I don't know. I feel like I'm gushing over the competition, but it's so great for this sport. We've seen it grow, and especially with the hitters. I love watching it every single week.
We did have one defensive change in left field now for Texas. We'll see Alyssa Sneed, the highly touted freshman. Krista Hamilton at the plate. First pitch ball from Tegan Cavan. Hammered that one. It'll go off the facade of the hitting facility down the left field line, but well foul. And if you're Tegan Cavan, you've not had your best stuff today, but she's really done a nice job settling into this game and has been mowing down Kentucky hitters lately.
But that's why she's so great, because even when she doesn't have her best stuff, she still knows how to get hitters out. And here's the thing, the majority of the time that you step on the field, you don't feel 100%, especially in a softball season, especially at this time of year. You're playing 50-plus games, right? And so your body might not feel great. It might not be moving as well as it did week 1. So how do you pitch? How do you hit despite that?
2-1 elevated as Hamilton swings third. And Maria, I turned 31 this year, and I can tell you it's getting harder and harder to get out of bed in the morning. I mean, sometimes you just don't feel at your best, and I haven't even played 16 innings of softball this weekend.
You didn't play 50-plus games already in the season either?
Watched about 50. Done a good softball around the country this year as Hamilton sends that one, and Sneed has to chase it down.
But I think that you don't even realize how much of a toll it takes on your body, too. Tegan Cavan has been doing this now throughout her Texas career, and with the success that the Longhorns have had making it so deep into the postseason, that then shortens your offseason, right? So it's figuring out how to pitch when you're not at your best and figuring out how to recover better as well.
Cavan recovers from a couple of foul balls with a strikeout.
Well, you know Krista Hamilton is ahead of it based on those foul balls. Look at the pin pulled, the changeup from Tegan Cavan to get Hamilton out in front of that pitch.
Cavan now 5 Ks on the afternoon.
That's why it's so hard to hit against Tegan Cavan, because she'll throw that rise ball around 70 miles per hour, and then she comes back with an off speed or a changeup that can vary between high 50s, low 60s, and so your timing is all messed up.
0-1 on the corner to the freshman Abby Hammond. Tegan Cavan earlier this year became Just the 6th Longhorn to ever record 500 career strikeouts. Her next would be 530. There's 530. And Maria, we talked about Kat Osterman last inning. She's the all-time leader. How many do you think she has?
I don't know. You got to give me an estimate.
Is it north of 2,000?
Oh. I'm going to say yes.
2265 in her 4-year career.
Oh, not that many.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. Just a couple.
It's interesting, too. I don't think some of those records will ever be touched because we've seen pitching done a different way in college softball. You see a lot more tag teaming with other pitchers. Back when Kat Osterman was pitching, she would just throw every inning.
And also the mound was closer. It was at 40 feet as opposed to 43. And so you do see more strikeouts. It's less reaction time, right? And the game has evolved now, and the bats have gotten hotter, and the mounds moved back 3 feet, and there's just so many different elements of the game that have changed, and a lot of them are in favor of the hitters. Now, a couple of years ago, they did allow pitchers to take that second foot off the mound, so that's more in favor of the pitchers. But to your point, Noah, there is more pitch by committee. There's so many games that you're playing, and again, the hitters are getting so good that you're going to different arms throughout a game to switch it up so that they can't get on time with you. They can't get on plane with your pitches.
This one's up the middle. Gonna be a tough play. And Martinez won't come up with it. It will be a single for Alexa Riddell. Cambria Salmon warming there for Texas a moment ago.
Alexa Riddle gets jammed a bit on this pitch, but it falls in a spot where nobody can make a play on it. So listen, a hit's a hit. You gotta take it when you can.
Maria, staying on that conversation about the hitters and the pitchers, do you think there will be more changes moving forward with the year that we've seen all of the offense in college softball to maybe help out the pitchers a little bit?
I don't know. You have to really think about it, and it all comes down to what the coaches want, right? And so we've seen changes made throughout the years to, again, benefit hitters, and then we did some things to help benefit pitchers as well. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, a big discussion was on the ability for pitchers to clear space or leaping when they throw. Now there's a little bit more leniency in that direction. So there have been some things to help the pitchers as well. It's just the ebbs and flows of the game.
And it will be interesting to see a couple of changes that you could make, maybe move back the fences, but that's a very expensive change. I think about baseball and back in 2011 when they switched from the BESR bats to the BB Core bats to try to combat some of the offense. I do think we are heading in a direction where there may need to be changes in the future, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
They've done little changes with the bats as well. Obviously, bats are tested before the game, but certain ones not able to be used anymore in the game. I'm going to date myself, but there was a purple stealth back in 2012 that got outlawed in college softball because of how hot it was. I remember being so disappointed because I used it in travel ball, and then I got to college, and they're like, you can't use it anymore. I was like, oh, I see your point, but I really liked it.
(2-1). Emmert spoils it. Seen more offense than ever. We were talking about the 6.5 runs per game average in the SEC. Oklahoma averaging 10.7 runs per game. They were up over 12 at one point this season. Just set the all-time home runs record with, what, 20-plus games still to go if their season goes the way they hope?
It's incredible what they're doing. And it's wild because we talk about Oklahoma, especially in this era of college softball and the dynasty that they've created for the sport. And, you know, they won 4 national championships in a row, and we thought that was incredible. And they just continue to raise the bar of the level of play that they're at.
3-2 pitch to Emmert. Popped up in the infield. Atwood loses the mask, makes the play for the final out of the inning. Showing why she's one of the best catchers in college softball. Flashes the leather for the final out of the frame. This broke things open in the third with a 5-spot. Hannah Wells has a home run, so does Allie Blum. Kentucky's defense, Maria, let them down, particularly in that third inning.
so tough to see because I really liked the way Mackenzie O'Slanzi was throwing, and she was getting great hitters to ground out or make weak contact and just unable to make the plays behind her. And it's such a momentum killer too, because we've seen Kentucky have some good at-bats against Tegan Cavan, and they're just beating themselves in the infield.
Haley Nutter back out there for her first full inning of work. She's the second pitcher out of the Kentucky bullpen. Mackenzie O'Slanzi started this game. Abby Hammond came in next, and now the freshman Haley Nutter. We're up in Barbers Hill, Texas. That'll catch the corner. And that Barbers Hill program, a long lineage of really talented pitchers. Sam Landry, who was the star at Louisiana and then Oklahoma, went there. So did Jessica Mullins, a pitcher that Texas has faced multiple times when she was at Texas State.
You see so much great softball in Texas as well. There's a lot of great travel programs based there. You also have phenomenal programs coming out of California and the West Coast. I think you're seeing such a high level of play when freshmen get to college because of the competition of travel ball and how that's elevated as well.
What did that scene look like when you were coming through the ranks years ago?
I mean, it's still similar, but I think it's even crazier now with the addition of NIL and social media, because you have to think about those elements too. But it is a grind. You know, you talk about the travel that these teams have to do in their college season. Travel ball, every weekend in the summer, you're somewhere. And it's not, you know, I was on the East Coast. We're flying to Colorado. You're flying to California. You're flying to Georgia. And it's funny because all of your other friends are having a lot of fun and you're just dedicated to trying to make this dream come true. And I think the best part about it, though, is it does prepare you for this game when you get here.
And we haven't even talked about the softball parents and all the miles they put on their vehicles or in air to go out and watch their athletes compete.
Listen, shout out to my parents, because there were 3 of us playing. So they had, I'm 5 years older than my youngest sister. So from the time I was 10 till the time she was 18, they were on the road every summer, every weekend. A lot of credit goes to what the parents put into getting their daughters to this level.
And now they still have to keep up with you. You're all over the place. Your sister's on the coaching staff at Florida.
Yep.
Other sister runs a hitting facility.
We are a softball family, and when we were in college at the same time, Dad was flying multiple places every weekend. They would split. Mom would go one place, Dad another. So big softball family. I don't know what we would do without it. Parents might be a little bit more sane, but it's something that we love, and it's so great to just continue to be around the sport when you're done playing. So both sisters in coaching, I get to be around it from this perspective, and I can gush about softball all day long because it can really change your life. And I think we've seen that with these players and the success that they've had on the field, but also what they do post-career as well.
A number of youth teams are here in the facility today. A chance to go out on the field during the national anthem and enjoying some good softball. Number 4 team in America, Texas in Lexington. They're going to face Arkansas next week before making the return trip here for the SEC softball tournament, May 5th through the 9th.
And that's so important, too, to have the young girls and the young teams in the stands, because it's so cliche, but if you can see it, you can be it. And I think with the way softball has become so visible, with the AUSL, with the Women's College World Series, it makes these young girls so excited to play for and compete for something. I think it was the first game of this series, one young fan had a sign that basically said she was here to get recruited by Mike White. She was maybe 9 or 10 years old, but that's exactly why it's so important to have these games on TV and to have the ability for young players to come and sit here and see and dream that maybe they can one day wear a Kentucky uniform or a Texas uniform.
Well, I'm sure Rachel Lawson hopes that that girl, whoever she was, wants to stay inside the state of Kentucky instead of going all the way down to Austin.
Listen, we should have had her for a tryout. I don't know, maybe throw some front toss, take some fly balls, ground balls. Got to catch them early.
Rachel Lawson, I think she was a bit frustrated with that last call. Has a conversation with Joe Havenhill behind the plate. She's going to go out to the circle to talk to Haley Nutter, who's walked the first 2 batters here in the 5th inning. And if you're Coach Lawson, Maria, you've touched on it a couple of times. You're still in this game. It's a 6-run game, but if you're Kentucky, you've got 9 outs remaining, so you have to be careful. And she's going back to her bullpen here. They're turning to today's starter, Mackenzie Oslonzi. Haley Nutter passing off the ball. What do you make of this change?
I've said it multiple times, but Oslonzi did a good job, Noah. I think the only reason that Coach Lawson took her out is because a couple of runs ended up on the board, but I think out of every pitcher that's entered the game today, Oslonzi has been efficient. She started ahead on hitters. She was able to locate her stuff. And so I like this choice to go back to her because sitting up here in the booth, I've had the most confidence in her to get Texas hitters out as opposed to anybody else who has stepped in the circle today.
I think the other thing this change tells you, you probably don't have Sarah Hendiges today after she threw 143 pitches yesterday.
Absolutely. I mean, she grinded that game out, and you know, just that 7th inning is where Texas really popped off, but she was so great, but that takes a toll because it's not only the amount of pitches, Noah, it's the amount of stress pitches, right? How many jams did she work out of yesterday? How many base runners got on for Texas? And she pitched a great game, but probably not available after the gruelingness of those 7 innings.
Okay, the answer to your question, 17 runners against Sarah Hendiges yesterday. So Mackenzie Oslonzi, one of the unique nuances of the game of softball. Starters, even the pitchers, are able to re-enter once after exiting the game. So Oslonzi, who threw the first 2 2/3 of this game in relief, I guess you would say?
I guess. She re-enters. That's what my head will tell me.
And met in this game with a swing down the right field line. We told you last inning that Alyssa Sneed had entered this game in left field. This will be her first plate appearance. Came on for Kaya Altmaier, who was 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. The first was against Mackenzie Oslonzi.
Sneed wasted no time, too, getting a great hack against Oslonzi. I like that. You have an opportunity, be aggressive with it.
And Oslonzi now falls behind in the count to the freshman out of Conroe, Texas, who was a top 10 outfielder in this year's class, according to multiple publications, a 2-time All-American during her high school career. And she's ahead in the count here, 3-1.
And it's tough because this is where the mental part of the game comes in. You get substituted for, you come off. Now Oslonzi has to regroup and get back in the circle and try to get in that rhythm again.
On the corner, the count moves full. Sneed hasn't been used much lately. I've seen a couple of starts in left field as of late. Payoff on the corner, strike 3, and Oslonzi with a little fist bump as she records the first out here in the 5th.
She earned every bit of that fist bump. Mackenzie Oslonzi battling back from behind in the count with the curve on the inside corner to get Sneed looking.
And just keeps pouring in strikes, trying to limit the damage here in the 5th inning. Texas has scored in 3 of the first 4 innings in this game, threatening here once again in the 5th. J.C. Nichols, 0 for 1 with a walk today.
Oslonzi works that side of the plate well, away to lefties, into righties. She moves it just an inch every single time. So she starts ahead, gets that 0-1 call, then moves it slightly to see if she can get a chase.
Got a chase there. She went to the rise ball at 69. That's been the pitch that she's been slowly getting back after that off-season surgery. That was a pitch she was known for. Texas fans will remember Mackenzie Oslanzi. She pitched against the Longhorns in Game 1 of the Austin Regional for Eastern Illinois last year. Off the plate, 2-2.
And the rise ball's a difficult pitch to throw, right? Because you're trying to get underneath it and spin it. But if you leave it flat, like we said, that's where home runs come in. So when you battle through an injury, getting that spin back and the location of it can be difficult.
Grounded to first. Hammond, who entered the game defensively, steps on the bag. I think she thought that one was going to be called foul, and it looks like Texas is going to challenge that was a foul ball. It was an oddly developing play. Everything was happening in slow motion, and now Mike White making the walk towards home plate to ask Joe Havenhill to come together and talk to the umpires. They might just be able to overturn this one on the field. It doesn't appear that way.
You can watch
Texas is challenging the ruling on the field of a foul ball. That play is under further review.
And you saw in that first angle, the ball does not have to stay fair as long as it catches part of the bag.
It looked to me like it did bounce in fair territory before Abby Hammond fielded it.
Maria, you and I were talking about this pregame. You've added the unique nuance this year of the green safety bag. That does not come into play in this. It has to go over the white bag, not the green bag.
Absolutely, and I think that's where the confusion is, because it even looked like Abby Hammond herself thought it was foul, almost didn't run to step on first base, and so we'll see it here again. Where does this ball bounce? To me, on this angle, it looks like it's inside that chalk line.
So Birmingham taking a look at this one. They do have additional camera angles, the Hawkeye technology that is installed in John Kropp Stadium. Just awaiting a decision on this one. All on the field, a fair ball and an out recorded. They will have to have clear and conclusive video evidence to overturn this one.
That's the key, right? Clear and conclusive evidence. You can't be half sure if it was fair or foul.
One of the new rule changes that I do love in college softball this year, they have allowed the home team to show these reviews multiple times, and I think that's great for the fans in attendance wondering if the call will change or not.
I think it's great for the fans in attendance. It might not be great for some of the officials if it goes against the home team, but I think it's great to see, because before there even was replay, this would just be a judgment call and you're trying to figure it out and understanding what actually happened, and so now people can see why something is being called the way that it is.
We talked about the Hawkeye technology. This is what they are currently looking at in Birmingham. As we mentioned, you see that ball bounce in fair territory. I don't know if there's going to be enough.
After review, the call stands. It was a fair ball. Texas still has 2 remaining challenges.
And with the announcement there that Texas still has 2 remaining challenges, I believe what that tells you is that Mike White asked the umpires to look at that, and they chose to look at it without Texas using a challenge.
Exactly, because if you get the challenge wrong, then you usually lose the challenge, and so that's why I'm thinking it was maybe the official's decision to go to that video replay.
So the putout goes down 3 unassisted. That'll bring up Ashton Maloney, and that one goes to the backstop. Emmert got to it quickly. Texas was in no man's land there for a moment, but able to get back to the bag was Taylor Anderson, who entered this game as a pinch runner.
The ball gets away from Emmert, but she does get a good bounce off the backstop. Luckily, no damage done.
Swansea misses here, 2-0. And if you're Maloney, Maria, what are you keying in on in this spot?
You want to hit something hard in the hole, right? Making good, solid contact, not trying to hit a home run. You need a single to score 2 here.
Low, snap throw to third. Good, sliding back in safely. Good's at third. Taylor Anderson, who pinch ran for Hannah Wells after the walk, is at second. If you score 2 here for Texas, suddenly you're in run rule territory. That pitch catches the corner.
I think that's a good take, though, because it's not a pitch that you're going to be able to square up, right? And in this scenario, you want hard, solid contact. It's situational hitting here for Maloney, so she needs to hit something that is her pitch.
Grounded to short. Clark goes to first for the final out of the inning. Mackenzie Oslanzi comes back into this game, does the job, records the final 3 outs. We head to the bottom of the 5th.
Off balance, she has been incredible today for the Longhorns, Noah.
Kavan exits this game after 4 innings, gives up just the 1 run, 6 strikeouts, and would be in line for her 3rd win of the weekend. Already has 18 on the season. Texas going to the pen. Cambria Salmon coming in for the Longhorns. First appearance of the series for the sophomore out of Beaumont, California. She will face the 9-1 and 2 hitters in the Kentucky lineup. Emery Donaldson leading things off. You thought there was a chance she might have to exit this game after she collided with the center field fence earlier, but able to stay in and bat here.
So much resilience from Donaldson. Not fun running into outfield fences, I can tell you from experience. The fact that she stays in this game, I think, again, it speaks to how tough she is, how versatile she is, and she's had some good at-bats in this game as well. Even when she's made out, has made good contact.
0-2 off the plate, and we were joking about travel ball earlier. When you're playing in these types of venues, you don't have that breakaway fence. Like, these fences actually hurt when you run into them.
I played on a field with a full-on wooden fence one time in college, so this feels a little bit better than that, but not by much.
Donaldson goes the other way. Maloney had to come in on it, makes the catch for out number 1.
Yeah, they put padding on these fences, Noah. I don't know how much it helps. It's definitely a little bit better, but if you're running full speed with your head turned away from the fence into the wall, it is not very comfortable, to say the least.
I'd call it jarring.
That's a good word for it, for sure. Glad I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of being up here in the broadcaster's booth, right?
I still have nightmares, though, about striking out in key situations or dropping a fly ball at the fence. I'm just waiting for that to go away. Like, I've been out of college for a while now, so I guess it just never leaves you.
Here comes the 0-1. It'll miss inside to Carly Sleeman. Well, certainly hope it does at some point.
We can only hope. We talked about the seniors on this Kentucky team. This is what they have to look forward to when their careers are done. Nightmares about striking out in clutch situations.
1-1. As the pitch misses upstairs to Carly Sleeman. 1 for 2 today, singled back in the 3rd inning. Has a hit in each game this weekend. Nice rebound for her after she was 0 for 9 in the 3 games down in Tuscaloosa last weekend. And Sleeman will have her 2nd hit of the day. This one splits the gap and rolls to the wall. Henry comes up throwing, and Sleeman has a nice slide. It'll be a 1-out double to get Kentucky in business here in the 5th inning.
Carly Sleeman makes such incredible contact because she hits the ball where it is pitched. This one on the outside corner stays back in her legs, keeps her hands to the ball to smash that in the gap. I love how competitive she's been at the plate in this series.
Marie, we've now seen 9 at-bats from Sleeman in this series. I've seen about 30 this year. she never gets cheated at the plate.
Absolutely not. I had a chance to catch up with her, and she told me, when I step in the box, I just think I'm always going to get a hit. If I'm not confident, I won't be successful. So I just think, hey, I'm the best hitter we've got.
And I think you look at a player like Sleeman, who you go and get in the transfer portal, and Coach Rachel Lawson has mentioned in the past publicly that at first she was resistant to the transfer portal. She prefers developing players, but when you look at Sleeman, I think that's the model that Kentucky may need to follow as they try to stay competitive in a Southeastern Conference that's getting better and better year in and year out.
Well, Sleeman said she came to Kentucky because she wanted to be challenged and she wanted to grow and develop as a player. And so I think that mindset shift of realizing it's hard with the portal era to develop like you used to, but you can still have the ability to do so. And I think Carly Sleeman's a great example of that. She was already a great hitter when she came to Kentucky, and she's just elevated her game, especially here in this series against Texas.
0-2 coming to Allie Blum. Hits the ball hard, it's fair down the left field line. Sleeman makes the turn, Blum will stay put at first, and Kentucky has added a run here in the 5th.
Kentucky has continued to have great at-bats all day long. This pitch inside. See how Allie Blum keeps her hands nice and tight on that ball? Able to get a good piece of it to rip it down the line.
Allie Blum came into today hitless on the series. She's 3 for 3 today, a home run, a pair of singles, and 2 RBIs. Peyton Plotz got her series off to a good start with her first home run in 31 games back in game number 1. She was Kentucky's premier power hitter a year ago, but went through a spell where she didn't homer in 96 at-bats. This could be a good time to get her second of the weekend. Here's the 1-0. And the trouble for Plotz this year has been the pitches down. She was so good at getting pitches up, but you talk about all the data in college softball, pitchers have adjusted to her in her junior year.
Well, it's harder to elevate those pitches that are lower in the zone, especially when it has drop spin on it, and that's why pitchers use that drop ball against power hitting teams.
High off the dirt, over the glove of Nichols at third, and Kentucky has their 3rd straight hit, and Blum is in scoring position with Maddie Clark due up.
So let's talk about the adjustment that Peyton Plotz makes. If they're going to throw me down, all right, I'll hit it hard on the ground. It's a great adjustment, a great piece of hitting from Plotz, especially after you pointed out, Noah, she struggled with those pitches lower in the zone.
We'll bring Patty Ruth Taylor out to talk to her sophomore pitcher in the circle. Tegan Kavan was cruising in her 3rd outing of the weekend. Texas goes to the bullpen. Kentucky has done a nice job against the sophomore Salmon.
Well, we saw Texas do this yesterday. 3rd time through the lineup, they switched from Citlali Gutierrez to Tegan Kavan. And so somewhat of the same now. Kentucky coming up through their 3rd time, and then they go to Salmon. And so I think that it's a game plan that the Longhorns have, especially in a conference with hitters like the SEC has. You can't let people see pitchers multiple times through the lineup. But Kentucky's done the reverse. They've made adjustments now to the next arm that they see, and they're having success because of it.
We've said it multiple times, still a lot of softball to be played in this game. Maddie Clark up, struck out and grounded out on the afternoon. Clark 0 for 8 in this series, saw a 5-game hitting streak come to an end in game number 1. She has struggled in SEC play, but no better time than the present to come through. Hits a ball into center, good tracking back on it, camps underneath and makes the catch for out number 2 as Clark is retired.
Clark just underneath the spin on that pitch. It's a big out to get, especially in the air, because it holds those runners at 1st and 2nd. We'll
bring up Carissa Hamilton, who was hitting over 400 for much of the year has slumped lately. She is one of the premier power hitting bats in this Kentucky lineup. 10 home runs on the year for Hamilton. One of the seniors recognized yesterday on Senior Day. Could be playing in one of her final games here at John Kropp Stadium. Pitch low, 1-1.
Hamilton taking a good aggressive cut at that first pitch. I like that, especially with runners on first and second. You're down by 5 runs, trying to claw your way back into this one. Get your hacks off the Texas reliever.
Wind gusting in the outfield. Hamilton. Sky high pop up into right. Maloney battles the wind and makes the catch for the final out of the inning. Kentucky strands a pair. They're just 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position today. Back in Lexington, 7-2 Texas as they eye a 3rd consecutive trip to the Women's College World Series. A bunt here, and Henry will reach to lead the inning off. This Longhorns team has played in the final game of the year in each of the last 2 seasons. A loss to Oklahoma in 2024 as they completed that 4-peat, and then Texas gets the monkey off their back, winning the national championship last year for the first time in program history.
And you hear on that video, too, they're not even focused on that right now. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do this season. But the success that this team has had under head coach Mike White and culminating in a national championship a year ago, it was so much fun to watch because they've been so good. They've been so elite. But Oklahoma has always been there. And for them to get over the hump and win that title, I think it has elevated this program to an even higher level.
0-1 coming to Katie Stewart. And Marie, I'm going to put you on the spot, and a reminder, there's a lot of Texas fans watching right now. But when you look at the national landscape, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Texas Tech, who's your favorite to win it all this year?
Oh, whoever's playing the best in Oklahoma City.
That's a cop-out.
It is a cop-out because I've seen a lot of the teams in person. I've called an Oklahoma game. I've called this Texas series. I did Texas Tech a season ago, and they have a lot of returners. And there's so much talent in all of these programs, Noah, that it really does come down to who plays the best on those few days in May and June.
Saw a great series a couple weeks ago between Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma wins 2 games. Katie Stewart hit a big home run in that series. She's hit 1 so far this weekend. The next would break the single season program record. Henry's on first, 2-2 to Stewart. Misses inside and the count is full.
Mackenzie Oslonzi going to that off-speed on the inside corner at 56 miles per hour. That's a little bit more over the plate. She might have Katie Stewart frozen up there.
Payoff pitch. Stewart goes the other way. Plotz is back on it. It clears the fence. Move over, Reese Atwood. Katie Stewart is now the Texas single-season home run leader.
Katie Stewart is such an elite hitter. She has very few holes in her swing, Noah. She can put the ball pretty much wherever she wants it. That's her 24th home run of the year. This one, an outside pitch that she goes with. There's a reason why she can hit the ball like she does with all that power, the lower half, the selection of the pitches, the new single season home run record for a reason.
And still plenty of time to add to that record. Katie Stewart putting up gaudy offensive numbers this year for the Longhorns. 24th home run of the year, now 61 RBIs. Texas checking all the boxes this weekend. And now Kentucky is going to their bullpen once again. Actually, it might not have been a bullpen change. No, it will be. The only pitcher that Kentucky still has is Sarah Hendigas. We saw Marissa Hamilton jog out there. That was who I thought was initially coming in, but obviously she will not pitch. Sarah Hendigas warming down in the bullpen after she threw 143 pitches yesterday. Actually looks like Abby Hammond, who we saw earlier in the circles, going back in there. That's why Hamilton came back out, because she's going to first.
It's all the position changes based on who pitches in this Kentucky lineup. I know Sarah Hendigas told us in regards to Abby Hammond, she's so versatile because she can play multiple positions. She can come in and pitch. They often joke as a pitching staff, hey, come back to the pitchers, Abby. And now not coming back to the pitchers, but coming back in the circle for Kentucky is Hammond.
So Hammond re-enters, and that will officially close the book on Mackenzie Oslanzi's day. She goes 3 2/3, gives up 7 runs, only 2 of them. Those 2 right there on the Stewart home run were earned. Did not walk a batter, struck out 3, and now Abby Hammond, who went 1/3 of an inning, gave up a run that was unearned earlier in this game, is back in the circle as Kentucky empties the pitching staff here in game 3.
You're just trying to do whatever you can in the 3rd game of a series to get through it, to try to figure out a way to scratch out runs, to win a game, and you'll see it happen a lot that multiple arms are used. I mean, we already saw Texas go to their bullpen as well, and Kentucky really trying to figure out a way to slow down the Longhorns offense, and that's why we've seen so many arms today.
Abby Hammond entered for Oslanzi back in the 3rd inning. First batter that she faced was Hannah Wells. She served up a 2-run home run, and then retired Kaya Altmaier with a strikeout to end the 3rd. Back in the circle is the freshman from Lexington, facing Viviana Martinez. Martinez 0 for 2 today. The first pitch misses upstairs to Viviana Martinez. Coming into this weekend, she was Texas's 2nd best hitter in terms of average in SEC play. They've loved having her back.
She missed last season with an injury, and Mike White telling us that sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, right? You sit out a year where you're not getting to step on the field, you start missing the game that you love so much even more, and so it really puts things into perspective when you do have an opportunity to get back in the lineup.
He also told us that it gave her the ability to look at the game a little bit differently. They gave her responsibilities on the coaching staff. She acted as another coach, and Mike White admitted too, it was also nice having someone that is of the same age of these players to help relay some of those things to the other players on the team. Strike there on the 3-0.
You know, as a player, you think you know everything.
You do.
Right? You really do. And now, especially even as I got older as a player, you started to think, oh, hey, coach was right about that. And so to have a different perspective helps so much, almost like a conduit between the coaching staff and the players. And that really brings a team together as well, because you're understanding, okay, this is why we're doing this. This is why we can be successful in this way if we just listen to what different members of the staff are saying.
Here's the payoff pitch. It's upstairs on the 3-2 to Martinez. 3 batters have come to the plate in the 6th for the Longhorns. All 3 have reached, and now Reese Atwood comes to the plate. This seems like a spot if you're Atwood after you just watched your single season program home run record broken, that maybe you take a big swing on the first pitch.
Trying to get back to the record that you had a season ago.
It's also an opportunity to show the younger Stewart, the junior, maybe who's still in charge of this team.
I think the great part about this team is they're so good because of how they push each other, right? You have somebody who is such an elite hitter, an elite player in Reese Atwood, and then you have your teammate in Katie Stewart who she's pushing.
I had a chance to go down to the field prior to this game, and one thing that stood out to me about this Texas team is just their competitiveness at everything. We saw them playing spike ball in the outfield, and they were laying out prior to this game. I don't know if the training staff likes that.
Especially at this point in the season.
But I think it serves an interesting point, because in the midst, and we talked about the long season, the ups and downs, to have those lighter moments, to be able to just enjoy time on this field with your teammates has to be great.
Yeah, you forget sometimes that you play this game because it's fun. That's why we all started, right? And especially with the pressure that we put on ourselves, sometimes it's hard to remember that.
Atwood hits one to right, plots his back on it, and Atwood clears the fence. Katie Stewart took her record in the last inning, and now Atwood delivers a 2-run bomb of her own.
Reese Atwood wouldn't be quiet for long without a home run. This pitch was high in the zone, Noah, and Reese Atwood is so great at hitting this ball. It's a rise ball, gets her hands high to it, pops it out of the park. I just love watching her hit.
71st home run of Reese Atwood's career. It's the most in Texas history. She's had 20 home runs in back-to-back seasons, the only Texas player to ever do that. As Abby Hammond faces Leanne Good, and now with the 4 runs in this inning, Texas has put Kentucky in a position where this game could end by way of the mercy rule in the bottom of the 6th.
Going back to that Reese Atwood home run, was that another reverse broadcaster's jinx by you there?
We've had a couple of them. Or maybe talking it into existence.
We're manifesting.
Texas's offense incredibly impressive this weekend. 29 runs. The pitching's been good. The defense has been stout. We talked about that in our open today, Maria. Everything's clicking right now in all 3 facets of the game for the Longhorns.
And they've also been resilient, so when things weren't going their way or when things weren't perfectly pretty, they worked through it. Tegan Cavan, not one of her best outings, but still found ways to be effective.
Good will have a 2-hit day. The inning continues. Texas now 11 hits on the afternoon.
What has impressed me about Texas is the way that they've found ways to make things happen. Not just in the field, but especially at the plate as well. We saw some steals, some aggressive base running. They put pressure on teams so that if Reese Atwood or Katie Stewart isn't going to hit a home run, they can still generate runs, and that's why they're the #4 team in the country right now.
Grounded to second, this could be 2. Blum to Clark on to first. And the speed of Anderson, who stayed into this game after pinch running for Hannah Wells, pays off. The inning continues. Good is retired. Just the first out of the inning. Our first pitch strike now to Alyssa Sneed, who entered defensively in left field for Kaya Altmaier, struck out in her first at bat.
Heard some groans in the stands on that pitch. Abby Hammond trying to paint the corners here, because if you leave it over the plate, that's where those home runs come from.
Hit the other way, it hooks foul. We were talking about all the offense in college softball, but I think one of the things that the pitchers have been frustrated about, it feels like the zone maybe has shrunk a little bit this year, and when you're going up against the best hitters in the world, as a pitcher, that's got to be a helpless feeling.
It's so difficult because you're already trying to keep it on the corners, right? And these hitters are so great that they're hitting pitches out of the park that aren't in the strike zone. And so you're trying to get every call, and when you're squeezed, it makes your job that much harder. It's a game of inches, and we heard Mike White talk about locations as a pitcher and why that's so important. But you could be hitting your locations, and if you're not getting the call, that's when games can get out of hand. That's why you see 6.5 runs per game in the SEC.
2-2 fouled off. But even with the zones being tighter, then you still have to face hitters like Kendall Wells, who's hit 36 home runs this year. Maria, I saw her heat map earlier this week,
my goodness.
and it extends out past the zone.
Her, Megan Grant as well, top in the country with home runs. Her heat map is so red everywhere, and that's the thing, Noah, is you can throw a pitch over her head and she still might hit it out in the case of Kendall Wells.
Grounded through the right side. Texas going station to station. Sneed comes up with the hit. The throw gets away, but both Texas runners stay put. The first 7 batters who have come to the plate here in the 6th inning for Texas have reached.
Well, they've been hitting it where it's pitched, and that's one of the most difficult things to do as a hitter because, you know, a lot of people like that inside pitch. You can get your whole body on it, turn, get some pop into it, but Texas does a great job of going with the outside, turning on the inside. If it's high, they get their hands to it. And you talk about those heat maps. That's why the heat maps can extend to more red areas if you can make your strengths into those zones. And so the less weaknesses you have, if you work on them, then that's going to expand and you don't try to do too much with pitches.
We told you Kentucky had 1 pitcher left in the bullpen. It was Sarah Hendiges. They're going to her here. Sarah Hendiges, a day after she threw 143 pitches. It was a 1-run game heading into the 7th before Katie Stewart got to her for a grand slam. Hendiges back out there for her 2nd appearance of the weekend.
Says she brings a bulldog mentality in the circle. And you saw that yesterday. A lot of vertical movement in that changeup. When she used that more, it really kept Texas guessing.
She kept this stout Texas offense off balance for much of the day yesterday. Finally able to get to her in that 7th inning. Being asked to get the final 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. 7 batters have come to the plate. All 7 have reached in this 6th. One grounded softly to first, handled by Hamilton for the 2nd out of the inning as both runners advance.
And because she spins the ball, she can get weak groundouts like that. And we saw it a lot yesterday. Sarah Hendiges, though, coming in, throwing strikes, doing what she was called upon to do to get these outs for Kentucky.
When you talk to people around this Kentucky program after the game yesterday, the outing that Hendiges gave them, they had Texas on upset watch. That was the talking point. Incredibly impressive what she was able to do through 6+ innings of work.
I was so impressed by it. And the way that her defense then made plays behind her, there was so much momentum going in the Wildcats' favor.
1-0, skied into center field. Underneath it is Donaldson for the final out of the inning. We saw history in this inning. Katie Stewart's 24th of the year.
She can hit to all fields. This one going the opposite way. Katie Stewart, write your name in the record books. That's the real thing.
The 4th-ranked Texas Longhorns seeking another run rule victory. They have Kentucky on the ropes. Ambria Salmon still out there trying to seal the deal on what would be Texas's 3rd sweep through their first 7 SEC series. Trying to continue building momentum towards the postseason and, more importantly, to next week's showdown against number 6 Arkansas. Abby Hammond swinging at the first pitch here. It's fouled down the left field line. Sneed gave it a look, couldn't make the play. Kentucky getting the most of the DP flex role here. We saw Hammond exit the game in the circle, but able to stay in and bat. That's one thing that Rachel Lawson is so good at using, are the rules of this game to use multiple players in different positions throughout the flow of a contest.
The DP flex rule is one of the coolest ones in college softball. It's really difficult to understand on how you can manipulate it to get different subs and to move around positions. But when you master it, it can be such an advantage for your team. And Rachel Lawson does a great job with it. I literally go through DP flex breakdowns with my father, who is an official, before games because it's so complicated, but it's so great to use and talk about and understand when you're either playing the game, coaching the game, or in our case, calling the game.
2-2 pitch, hit to third. Nice job by Nichols to glove it. Composes herself and retires Hammond for the first out of the inning.
We've talked a lot about JC Nichols and her bat, but Mike White had high praise for her defensive ability as well. When you lose a player like Mia Scott to graduation, it's really difficult to fulfill that role in the way that she was so great at the hot corner for the Longhorns a season ago. And Nichols has stepped into that spot. She's so quick, great hands. You see that there, getting that short hop. So anytime you're in the same sentence as Mia Scott, you have to be pretty proud of yourself.
One of the gutsiest players to ever play for the Longhorns. Played parts of last year with a torn ACL.
Man, some of the plays that she made in the Women's College World Series, and then the big hits that she had as well. Mia Scott, such a fun player to watch.
0-2 now to Alexa Riddell. Texas had to reload a bit in the offseason. You lose Mia Scott, your starting third baseman. Jolie Mitchell, who spent a lot of time at first base, started 64 games. You got Viviana Martinez back. 0-2 in play. It's caught by Henry, one of those returners from last year's national championship team. And Maria, we started today talking about why you think Texas is built to get back. Everything we've seen this weekend says that's a fact.
The defense, the offense, and the pitching. And we've seen multiple pitchers as well. I think it's so important to have a staff. And, you know, we mentioned before how you used to be able to give it to one arm and let them go. But Texas has so many options in the circle. That'll help them the more games that they have to play down the stretch.
Grounded to short, and this will do it. The Longhorns sweep the Wildcats. It's their third SEC sweep of the season. And Maria, this was an impressive weekend for Texas.
So much grittiness from this squad as well. They did get themselves into some tight situations, but immediately the offense would pick it up, find ways to hit the ball out of the park. The slappers at the bottom of the order doing a great job as well. And again, Noah, the pitching of this Texas staff, so good.
Texas gives up just 5 runs in the series. Tegan Kavan wins all 3 games this weekend, and Texas is cruising. A big victory and a big weekend for the Longhorns as they continue their march towards the Women's College World Series. A fun weekend here in Lexington. For Maria Travelpiece, our producer Daniel Gibbons, all of our crew working behind the scenes, I'm Noah Frary saying so long. We'll see you in a couple weeks at the SEC tournament.